Okay, so it's been about 2 weeks since we carried out our egg cutting video, and the baby snakes have just had their first sheds with us over the weekend, and so we're getting a real good idea now of what they look like, and this is the best chance for us to identify them and to look at what kind of genes we've got in some of this year's hatchlings. So let's take a look. We're going to let our eyes do the work here. It's very easy to overthink this, but we're going to just look for really simple differences and hopefully help us to pin down and identify some of the genetics that we've got in play. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate the bananas from the non-bananas, or really what will be the males from the females. All these yellow, orangey snakes are all bananas, and they should all be male. I've not verified that yet, but we will do it in a second. So we're going to just put those to the side for now, and we'll come back to those in a minute. They're going to be a little bit harder to ID, just because banana is such a dominant gene. It often masks some of the other genetics. So we've got 4 bananas, so we'll put those to the side. Okay, and we're going to start with these 3 that we've got here. Now these should all be female, and let's start off by looking at this one. So you can see here, if we bring it nice and close up to the camera, there's a couple of things that we can spot when we look at this particular hatchling. You can see there's a fair bit of orange coming up the sides of the snake. We've got a little bit of a head stamp. If you look carefully, you can see there's a little bit of a lightening on the top of the head. And as we go down, you can see a lot of the pattern we can see is quite distinctive. It kind of turns into what looks a bit like tiger stripes going down. You can see quite a clear belly pattern as well. This could be a normal, if I'm honest. It looks like it could be, or it could be quite a low expression orange dream. So if we kind of label that with this little girl as an orange dream for now, and we'll watch her as she grows up, and we'll see what happens to those oranges, and we'll see what happens to her colour as she goes through her first few sheds with us. But I suspect this is probably a low expression orange dream, possibly a normal. But like I said, it's only really as they grow and they begin to develop their colour that we get a really clear idea of what we've got. So we'll start with her, we'll pop her back. Okay. And then we've got, similarly, this little one. You can see as we look down the sides, we have a very similar kind of pattern here. Again, you can see those stripes, you can see the edging, this kind of white outline around the outside of these black stripes. The orange that's coming up the sides, again, makes me think that this is most likely orange dream. You can see towards the tail end, you can see particularly that the space between the stripes begins to lengthen out, which is again another sign of orange dream, really. Orange dream came from Doris, so it is definitely going to be in the mix, and so it's a fairly strong possibility that's what we could have here. But again, orange dream on its own isn't the most distinctive gene, so this could well be a normal. But again, the head stamp, the little pattern on the top of the head, makes me think this is quite likely to be OD as well. Okay, so I'll put her back. All of these hatchlings, both the male and the females, are all het for clown, because mouse carries the clown gene. Okay, let's have a look at this little girl. Now this one's quite interesting because she's quite different to her sisters. Look carefully at her. So this little girl is almost definitely a combination of two genes. She is definitely orange dream, and again we can tell by just how dark the blacks down her body are. Really deep saturation in terms of the difference between the blacks and the golds. And the other gene that she's got is yellow belly. So this is an orange dream yellow belly female, het for clown. You can see the flaming coming up the sides of her stripes. And yeah, we can see on the belly pattern as well. We've got this kind of edging and this checkering going down the sides, and these train tracks, if you like, tells us this is definitely an orange dream yellow belly, het for clown female. So this is a really nice little female that hopefully one day we might be able to raise up and breed to produce some clowns in the future. So we've had a little look at the females. Let's have a little look at the males. And this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, because so far we've been dealing with fairly straightforward genetics. The females are fairly simple. But when it comes to banana's quite a dominant gene, and so it makes it quite difficult really to ID. So we'll start off with, again, if we look, we can see, if we look at these four, there are two that are definitely different to the rest. We've got two that are quite pale, yellow. We'll come to those last. And we also have two that are quite bright. Now, if we start off with these two, looking at them, there isn't a huge amount of difference between the two. I think this one still is yet to shed for us. So this one is going to be shedding over the next 24 hours. So again, it's hard to make a fair comparison between these two, but you can see the difference between one that's recently shed, this one, and this one that still has to shed. You can see that kind of sheen on its skin. But if you look at them side by side, you can tell by the pattern that they're both containing banana. That's fairly obvious. And we think there's also some other genes in the mix as well. If we look at the pattern that we can see, I suspect both of these animals have yellow belly, because if you look down the sides, you can see a lot more of that flaming going on. So this little boy has got a lot of flaming on the sides of his body. And this little one also has got a fair bit of flaming as well, not quite as much. There's a possibility that we could also have Orange Dream, not so much for this one, but I would say there's a possibility with this one that there may also be Orange Dream. So this may be banana yellow belly, and I think for this little boy there's a fairly good possibility that this boy could be Orange Dream as well as yellow belly and banana, but we'll have to just kind of wait and see with him. Again, you can see there's a couple of signs that maybe Orange Dream's in the mix, but actually looking at it, maybe not. I don't think the camera's quite picking up just how bright those oranges are down the sides. But again, we'll have a little look, looking at the head stamp, possible signs of Orange Dream there as well. So we'll have to kind of watch that one as he grows and see what we think a bit further down the line. So we'll put these two back. Now the two that we've got left, it caused me a little bit of a headache in terms of figuring out what exactly we've got here. Because like I said, we've got quite a few genes in the mix with some of these bananas, and these two are definitely different to the others. If we just have a look, the yellows are much creamier, much softer than they were in the other two. If you also look on the top of this little one's head, this little boy, the head stamp is much paler. And if we just have a little look at his lips, if he lets us see, yeah, he's got white lips. So that tells us that these two are banana. They're also pastel, based on their coloration and based on their head stamps, based on this kind of faded blushing on the top of their heads. And if we look at their dorsal, if we look down the sides of their body, let's have a little look, see if we can see any signs of yellow belly. I think we can see this kind of flaming coming up the sides. And so I think this one is definitely banana, definitely pastel, and definitely yellow belly. He's tied himself in a bit of a knot here. And if we look going down the sides, you can see that pattern all the way down, that flaming. You can see the belly pattern's completely gone. Banana dominates yellow belly in that way. If we compare the two side by side, you can see, just getting alongside each other, there is a slight difference in the pattern. You can see going down, you've got these what are called alien heads. You can see the little keyholes going down in the pattern, whereas they're completely missing on this one. And so that makes me think that it's quite likely that this guy here is not just yellow belly, but possibly also Orange Dream, because that's a trait that Orange Dream creates, that banding pattern that we saw earlier. Makes me think this guy is banana, pastel, yellow belly, Orange Dream, and that this one is lacking Orange Dream and is possibly just pastel, yellow belly, banana. Now there's a possibility for both of these two boys to also have fire. The breeder that we got Mouse from wasn't sure whether Mouse had fire or not. He was very, very bright as a hatchling and very clean as an adult, and that made him think that there was a possibility that he had fire. We're not too sure on that. I guess it would depend on how much they clean up and how much they brown out. There is a difference looking at the two. I think out of the two, if any of them's going to have fire, it's probably this one. Yeah, we'll have to just wait and see. It's a very, very subtle gene, but it does tend to create these very creamy, very lightly coloured snakes. So these two are fairly gene-packed. We've got potential for all 5 genes, but at least I think 4 genes in this animal: banana, pastel, yellow belly, orange dream, and banana, pastel, yellow belly for this guy. And like I say, there's also the possibility for fire in these two as well. So really exciting, really kind of some interesting combinations that we've got here, some really brightly coloured, beautiful snakes. We're going to get these guys set up in their individual tubs now. We're going to give them a week to get them to the point where they're really switched on and really hungry, and then we're going to start feeding them towards the end of this week, giving them their first meals. Once they've been consecutively strike feeding for 5 to 10 times, and they're really kind of established, then these guys will go up on for sale on Morph Market, and we'll be looking to rehome them. So these guys will be available for visitors. We've got our first Snake Society meeting this Friday, where these guys will be available to meet and to hold, and we're looking forward to kind of seeing how they develop and how they grow with us over the next few months. Okay, well, take care guys, hope you're enjoying the first few weeks of term, and we'll see you soon.